Well, Sabbath greetings to everyone. I hope you've had a great week. It has been a wonderful week here in Sussex. It's been warm and sunny and beautiful, beautiful evenings with this full moon and just gorgeous and stars. But it has been a little dry. We certainly could use some rain, but we really can't say too much around here with all the drought and everything else that's going on in California and really many other places around the country and around the world. So we've been very blessed here, really, with beautiful weather, and it's been a great week, a beautiful week. I've gotten the opportunity to visit with many of you, and also with some go-tos around the area. And so please be praying for those go-tos. We've gotten a few. It hasn't been quite as many go-tos here lately as we have been having, but we're feel very blessed to have whatever go-tos God inspires in that sense. So we do want to pray that those individuals come along, and we're trying to help and serve them best that we can. But there is a work being done, and it is bearing fruit, and we can be very, very happy about that. Well, I know that a part of this life we all know very, very well is trials. Trials are a part of life, and I just wonder if you out there are facing trials currently. If not, then certainly we know that we are going to face trials in life, and we need to be building faith, and we need to be building the kind of attitude towards trials that kind of attitude that's pleasing to God in our trials. And I just came across today for some reason the serenity prayer. And of course, we don't do rote prayers. We don't repeat a prayer over and over again. But the 12-step programs, including AA and others, use the serenity prayer. It goes a little something like this. There are longer versions, but the short version is just, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Boy, there's a lot of good advice in there. There's a lot of wonderful principles in that very brief prayer or saying, if you will. Serenity is defined as the absence of mental stress or anxiety. It's very, very similar. A synonym would be peace or tranquility. And so, to have the peace or the serenity, to accept the things that I can't change, and the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There is so much truth to that, but how often do we kind of get stuck? We have a human tendency sometimes to expend so much energy trying to change things that we simply don't have control over, whether it be someone else's attitude or someone else's approach to something, or if it's just things that come along in life that we expend so much energy trying to fix. We want to fix it. We want to fix our mate, or we want to fix this other person, and we want to change what, try to make them change, or spend a lot of time trying to change those things. And we can't do that. And so we do need to have wisdom to understand the difference of what we need to be working on personally, and what there's a certain element even of that we have to trust God and know that we, as Jesus Christ himself said, I can of myself do nothing. And so there is, certainly in many ways, we have a very limited amount that we can do, but we have to expend effort in praying and fasting and studying and all those things. There's no shortcut for those things, but we have to understand that we need Jesus Christ. And right now is an absolutely vital time for every one of us to be growing in faith and being able to understand this concept of what it means to have serenity even in times of trial, when there's just certain things we can't fix on our own. We've got to learn to have peace in our trials and tests. And Paul went through something in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. He was talking about some thorn in the flesh, something that was bothering him, and he went to God with it, of course, which is what we do. And here's his response in verse 9 of 2 Corinthians 12. He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. My strength, God's strength. In this case, Jesus, the strength of Jesus Christ is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in needs, in persecutions, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Now, Paul understood there's only so much that he could do. There was only so much that he could change. And there were certain things he took that thorn in the flesh to God. And God said, no, I am teaching you through this. I'm going to help you to understand me better, understand yourself better, understand my grace, understand that we grow through the challenges of life, through the certain infirmities that we're allowed to continue to suffer with or to endure. We learn through those things. And Paul knew full well that God could deliver him at any time, could heal him at any time. But he understood that whatever it was that he was dealing with was giving him the opportunity to grow, to understand better God's mind, his purpose, to understand God's strength, because he did know that it is in our weaknesses that we tend to acknowledge when we're going through trials and tests. We see weaknesses in certain ways, and maybe there's certain things that we don't have any control over, but we understand that we have certain human limitations, but God doesn't have any limitations. We know, and we have to understand and build that kind of faith that God doesn't have any limitations. He can do anything. So if he chooses not to do something, then we have to come to understand that we are gaining strength through weakness, that we are learning how to trust God, how to understand that God knows what he's doing when we face tests and trials. He knows what we need perfectly well. And we have to understand the difference. The things that we need to work on, we certainly don't want to be slack in those things. But then there's a part of that where we have to understand, and we have to start leaning more on Jesus Christ. And right now, the Bible study, the teen Bible study is going on, the Camp Teen Bible Study. I'll listen to it later on. But I love the theme, the inspired theme at teen camp this year is I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You know, that was Paul too that said that. See, all these things were working together for him in a sense to grow, to develop the mind of God, to have faith in Jesus Christ and understand very fully that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, meaning that sometimes if we can't change something, we continue to go through tests and trials. We understand that's working to help develop within us the very character of Jesus Christ, who suffered terribly and was allowed to suffer terribly. And so we gain from that, and we have to understand that and gain that perspective through our trials. And so I love that. I hope you've had the opportunity to listen to the morning motivation, the evening reflections, and then tonight the Bible study, and then I'm sure they'll have Sabbath services as well, with Dr. Winnell giving the sermon there. But the video is getting long. But the point is that, brethren, we can have peace, we can have serenity, even throughout difficult times. And that's when it's most important to try and develop that mind of peace and serenity when there are things that we simply can't control. We have to trust God, that he knows what he's doing, have the faith in him, and understand that he's working all things together for good to help us to develop his mind, his character, the faith of Jesus Christ. So we need to deeply internalize why we suffer trials, why we go through these things. We gain strength through weakness. We learn to trust God and accept that there are certain things that we just cannot change. We have to trust God and wait. Sometimes the answer is wait. Wait on God and trust him. Don't ever give up. He said he'll never leave us, never forsake us. We have our part to play, and sometimes that's simply to continue praying and fasting and learning to trust God. So we have to learn to rely on him and have faith and trust in him, because he can do all things. We are limited, but he can do all things. So it's a key to trust God and to accept the things that we can't change, but turn those things over to God, knowing that He can do all things. So, brethren, I hope you have a fantastic Sabbath wherever you intend to keep it. We are planning on being in the Dells once again. My schedule's been mixed up, so we were there just a couple of weeks ago, but I'm going to try to stick with the schedule the way it is right now. So we are planning to be once again in the Dells. Wherever you plan on keeping it, I hope you have a fantastic Sabbath and a wonderful upcoming week. I love you all, and I truly hope that your Sabbath is profitable, meaningful, and wonderful. Take care. I love you, and we'll talk to you again real soon.